Hi everyone, welcome to the Varanus podcast on the Trap Talk Reptile Network. Happy New Year. Let's wait for a few people to log on. Tonight I'm really excited. I've got CodeyJoe from Canada on. He does a lot of work with monitor lizards, especially the Indonesian Varanus. We'll also get into some of the python species he keeps. But yeah, hope everyone had a really good New Year. Excited to be back. This is number 10. Hopefully I've got a lot more good shows for you this year. Hi, Lucy Boyles. Good to see you, mate. Hi, mate. Hope you're doing well. Let's wait for a few more people to log in. Right, Cody, how's it going, mate?
Good, man. How about you?
Yeah, all good. All good. Been a bit of a tough day, but we'll get through it. But
another one down, yeah.
Yeah, that's another one down. So, do you want to just introduce yourself, mate, for people that don't know you, and just sort of say what sort of stuff you're working with, and then we can sort of dive in to a bit more specifics.
Yeah, so for the most part, well, I have a store, so I work with a bit of everything. But in regards to breeding in the personal collection, I do a lot of monitor lizards, as you mentioned, a lot of the Indonesian ones, and then a lot of the more oddball boas and pythons, not really so much of the MORPH species. It's more of the oddball species, like all the Indonesian stuff, some of the Australian stuff. Some of those other boas, like Bahamas and Dominicans and stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you've got a similar collection to what I've got over in Indonesia, but you're in Canada, so it'll be interesting to see your perspective on a lot of the stuff that I'm keeping here. But you're doing it, a lot of it inside in Canada, which makes it a bit more difficult for sure.
Yeah, probably the opposite issues that you deal with. Yeah.
Yeah, it must get super cold where you are. And is it Calgary or not?
Red Deer.
Red Deer. Okay.
Yeah,
Still pretty cold.
Today is I think today's supposed to be minus 23.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I just got back from the UK, and that was, I think the worst we had was like -5, and I was losing my shit. I was like, and get me back to Indonesia right now.
Yeah, -5. We got like a t-shirt. We're like, that ain't bad.
And you guys can deal with the snow as well. As soon as we get any snow in the UK, everything shuts down. And we get it every year, but they just don't prepare, and it's crazy. And then you see like you guys are tunneling your way through and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah, definitely. It must be difficult to keep the heat on for everything. We'll get into that a bit later, and we can talk about that sort of stuff. Like I said, you might have a bit of a problem when you lose power or something, but I think Canada is pretty set up for the weather, unlike a lot of the other places.
We're typically pretty good. Like besides last year, there was like a grid issue, but
yeah, sweet. So let's start with the Indicus complex, mate. That's become one of my favorite monitors. I was speaking to you off chat. That whole sort of genus of monitors is really cool. What are you working with?
At the moment, I downsized a bit. I had some other species like the Cerambuensis and all that, but and then I was breeding a lot of the Solomon Island Indicus.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, those ones about the same as Molinas. Like I think I hatched close to 60 of them. But
wow, well, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I quit doing them though because I found them to be way too timid and spastic. Like. Even I would have all these cages of baby Molinas next to all these cages of those Solomon Island Indicus babies.
Yeah.
It was like night and day difference, man. You'd walk in the room and all those Solomon Islands would be flipping out.
Right.
And the adults were the same. So
is that the one they're calling the Russell Island, I think it is? Is that those ones? Or is
no, similar. These ones are like the Santa Isabel Island. They're like, they come from the same place as the Spinulosus.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know people have been too successful. That's crazy, but unfortunately, not working with them. That's a big hit to Canada, maybe.
I know. Well, I did get more mangroves. Maybe I'll send you pictures at some point. Maybe they're Biak or Sarong.
Okay, yeah.
But to my knowledge, to get a little bit bigger. The attitude difference is night and day. Like they're like the Molinas; they'll just sit out in front of me.
Yeah.
They got the blue tongue instead of the pink tongue.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check. I never really look at them too much, but starting to look at the tongues for some of the other species we've got, and that seems to be a pretty good indicator. But yeah, they all seem to act pretty similar. The Meraukis and the Sorongs and stuff, just a bit different with the pattern and the color. But that'd be interesting. Yeah, send them over. I'll check with what we've got here.
Yeah, they're cool. I think they'll be better than the Solomon. The Solomon Islands are so cool, and it's a shame not to breed them. But
yeah,
everybody was let down. They're like, man, like I can't tame it. It's just so timid. And I'm like, well, yeah, me too.
And even the capture bred babies were just super timid as well.
Yeah, man, just spastic. And they never bit. Like they wouldn't bite. They just typical, scratch you and crap in it. But
yeah, I found that's quite interesting. I put a comment on. I think Matthew Dove put a post up the other day saying how they're not inclined to bite. I think that was the Russell Island ones. But yeah, I found that a lot with all that Indicus complex. I was telling you again off air, those Colii, the Oore, and the Molinas even. It's like you can't get them to bite. They scratch and obviously don't want to be held tight or anything. But quite interesting compared to like the tree monitors. As soon as you grab a tree monitor, they'll latch onto you.
Turn around. Yeah, I find that with peach throats too. All my peach throats, man, you grab those suckers and they're turning on you.
Yeah, I got done by two Betanta jobiensis yesterday. Like I got two out to take some photos, one on each hand. Oh, man, too used to grabbing
the pictures, and I'm like, ooh, no gloves, man. You're gonna get.
Oh, mate, yeah, I know. They slip out my hand like too easy without gloves. It's worse when I go to look for the tree monitors in the wild, and it's like we're in some pretty rough places. So I need to start wearing gloves over there in case anything gets infected. But yeah, just alcohol all day.
Yeah, I've given up. I just gloves. I can grab them.
Yeah. It's the best way. Yeah, literally on the plane on the way over here from England, a guy was sat next to me in the middle seat, and he pointed at me, and I was like, "Oh, does he want to know the time?" I showed him my watch. He was like, "No," pointing at my cuts. I was like, "Oh yeah, I keep lizards," and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I keep lizards." I had to show him a picture on my phone. He was just shaking his head. He's just this Indonesian guy going back to Jakarta.
Stop talking to you.
Yes, like a weirdo. stuck on an 8-hour flight with this weird lizard guy next to me. But, yeah, glove for sure.
But yeah, no, I got in the current moment for Indicus complex. I'm keeping. I've got the mangroves. I've got a good sized group of peach throats. I've got the Molinas. I've got blue tails, tricolors.
Nice.
I think that's really it now. And then I've got Spinnulosis. I've got monitors. And then Kimberly Rocks, Ackies, and I just took on my buddy's pair of Pilbara rock monitors, actually.
Wow.
And then
that's a pretty impressive collection already. That's crazy. Plus all the pythons and stuff.
Yeah. Like I said, I got big time on the monitors. I had a ton, but it's too much for one guy.
Yeah, they're a lot of work. I don't think people realize, especially if you start breeding them as well. You need to be quite on the ball if you want to be successful with them. You need to be quite on the ball. And like I said, I work with a lot of them here, and like I have to write stuff down of when they've laid and to get back onto it, or else you're too preoccupied with another one that you're trying to get to cycle. It can become quite difficult. Yeah,
it's a nightmare. Like, do you guys separate yours at any point?
We do, yeah. So since I've been here, we used to keep everything together. But what tend to happen, which again happens indoors as well, is the male just gets really big and the female doesn't get much food. And if there's not someone keeping an eye on it, the female just deteriorates.
Yeah.
So one of the first things I did when I got here was separate everything. So we've got males and females next to each other, or like a male section and a female section. But it makes it work like harder work because then you have to pair stuff as well.
You got to time it and
yeah. So it's like a catch-22. But yeah, I think I don't know if you agree, but I think if you can get it on a cycle and you can do that separating and pairing, it seems to be a lot more productive.
Yeah, I agree. That's kind of where you can almost see, like, this is a Molinas enclosure behind me, and right there you could see there's like a channel divider in there. So for when the female's going to be nesting, I'll slide the divider in. But I have in my new monitor basement, I'll be building I'm going to do it all so the divider can slide in the front without opening the doors. And then I can just leave it halfway in. So then when I'm going to feed her something, I just wait till one's on either side and push it. And then with nesting, I can just separate them without having to grab them and move them or something.
Yeah, that's literally what we've done in the last couple of months here, because I found the same sort of problem with grabbing them. So we've made, like, with the bigger monitors, with the tree monitors, I can't do it, but they're a lot easier. But for like the Salvadori, Uonoi, and all those, we've got like just little doors now. So each cage is connected all in a row. So you can just split it, usually put the male in the middle and then have a female each side. So if you've got one cycling, you can just sort of lift it up and then let them into there. And then again with the feeding. But it's cool.
Yeah, the males are brutal, man.
Yeah, they just take, if you don't keep an eye on it, they just take all the food. And then you just end up with this really fat male and a super skinny female that's obviously no good.
You guys breed Jobiensis there?
We do, yeah.
Yeah. Do you find those males to be like crazy bullies?
Yeah. Also, for the food especially, they're really a real one you have to watch. We've got one here, and I thought when I first got here, I thought it was a gravid female. I was like, oh, like wicked. We've got a gravid female Batanta. It's a huge male, just literally like a football. And I've been starving it. I've been starving it now for ages. And once they get past that point, there's not much you can do with them. And like I said, they seem to be pretty bad, and pretty bad at bullying the females as well.
Yeah, I noticed that distinctly with them. I even had yesterday one of my females just straight cut across her throat, and she's just leaking, which is like whatever, it just closes up. But
they're pretty good at heat. But they're savage what they do to each other. Literally, I think it was yesterday, I had to split up two of the Batantas. They'd bitten each other on the mouth and they wouldn't release each other.
Same,
it's just a nightmare.
They're ones that you just can't keep them together, it seems.
No, I think they definitely need to separate them. But speaking about a nicer, more chilled out one, let's talk about the Molinas, CodeyJoe. You've really smashed those out. I think they're probably one of the most underrated monitors out there at the moment. Do you want to go into how you're keeping them and how you find them?
So I do the same as everything. I keep them like this. This is kind of just my generic monitor setup for the Indicus stuff anyway. It's 8 foot long, 4 foot front to back, and 7 foot tall.
Nice.
And then my new ones are probably only going to be 6 foot tall, just because the height that I have in that basement. But then I have, so I'll reverse here. On this side, I've got it's like a 3 foot by 2 foot cement mixing tub. For water. And it's actually got a drain with a standpipe, and you can kind of see in the corner, there's a tube coming in, and it drains out to I used to just have a ball valve where I would just drain and fill them. But if you get busy, right, and you can't change it every day, it just gets disgusting. So I have a 5-gallon bucket with a screen filter sock, and the water drains out into the screen filter sock and collects any waste. And then the pump is in the bucket. And then if I need to do a water change, I just pull the pump out, dump the bucket, refill it. And then I can close out the tub. But I got the water here. And then on this other side, I have a typical like plastic bin. It's like, I don't know, they're like 2.5 foot by 1.5 foot by 2 foot tall. And then I have, it's mixed with sand and peat moss in there. And then the way that I do it is I have one tub stacked inside another one. And then there's a heat pad in between the two tubs just to protect the heat pad from getting destroyed. And then I just have a hole just big enough for the lizard to get in the lid. And that's my nest box. And then other than that, I have the lights in the top. The way I've done it is I refuse to have screen in monitor cages, like in the indoor, because I find they just hang from it and then burn themselves. So I've cut out holes just big enough for heat lamps, and then I screw the heat lamp to it. So there's nothing blocking the bulb, but it's still outside of the cage, if that makes sense. So they can't stand up and grab it or anything.
Yeah.
And then that's pretty well it. The only real ventilation is between the glass doors, and there's some gaps around those heat lights. But I keep it very minimal with the ventilation, just to trap all the heat and humidity. So basically, I like it. If you open the door, it hits you in the face. You can feel it.
Definitely. And what sort of temperatures are you running those at?
Most of them, the basking is anywhere between 120 and 130. And then the ambient temperature could go as low as 80 degrees on the floor. But the higher you move up in the cage, it drastically increases. So the top's probably 90 degrees maybe. And then mid-level, for the most part, it's like 85.
Yeah. That seems pretty standard to what I was doing in the UK with the tree monitors that work well. It's interesting what you say with the ventilation. I did exactly the same. Didn't have any vent holes or anything in those ones. We got the opposite problem here. It's weird. I've had to relearn over here. It's like too humid, so it's like the opposite effect. You've got air, everything's. We have to use a lot of mesh, and even on the outdoor stuff, a lot of mesh stuff just to get the airflow going through. We run into sort of respiratory problems and stuff like that. So I think that's quite important for people to know. Everyone wants like a recipe for stuff, as you probably get asked a lot, and it literally changes. I've had to pretty much relearn everything I thought I knew when coming to Indonesia, obviously. But in somewhere like Canada, even or the States, it's such a big area. I mean, what works in one place isn't going to work somewhere else.
Yeah, you got to feel it out. I always talk about how I used to always try and follow a recipe from somebody, and I never had as much success as just blocking it out and just paying attention to what's working here.
Yeah. So there's a bit of an art when you been doing it a long time, and I understand it's quite hard for newer keepers. Unfortunately, everyone just wants to breed everything now instead of keep it. But a lot of that keeping of the stuff is like learning how to read the animal. I think that's been lost a little bit in the hobby. Like you need to do 2-3 years of keeping it, finding out what the animal's doing before you go on to the breeding. Where now a lot of the questions I get asked as soon as I sell something is how to breed it, which is understandable. But it's like if you're not experienced, there's a lot of work to be put into just breeding your animals.
Yeah, once you master the care, they'll just breed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think everyone thinks there's some sort of secret. There's like everyone's keeping a secret, and we're not. It's just sort of reading the animals and supporting them.
Yeah, you figure it out.
Definitely.
No, that was one of the biggest things here anyways, right? You have the opposite. I see people out here always trying to breed monitors, and they've got these big screen portions on the cage and stuff. And I think here you have to have a closed box. Otherwise you'll never breed them, because you've just got this crazy basking spot that's super hot. And then the rest of the cage is cool and low humidity. And then they get burns and they don't breed.
It seems to be. I have the same in the UK. You get like this dry heat. It's very hard. If you have too much ventilation, it's hot, but you don't get that humid aspect. There's a sort of an art to doing it. And like I said, there's enough ventilation if you don't have the vent hole sometimes between the glass. And like you said, in other areas, you don't need these big sections if you're in one of these places.
Oh, big time. Yeah. It seems to be like less is more.
Definitely. So you produced how many Molinas? You did tell me. It's crazy.
Around 60.
Insane.
Yeah.
Have you found much variability between the ones? Have you held any of them back, or?
The interesting thing is I had another pair that I ended up just giving to a reptile zoo out in Canada here. And that pair was jet black and like glowing yellow. They look like a nice yellow tree monitor, beautiful. And then I called this my white pair. Like this male up here is like, it's like almost white.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is I kept back one baby from that high yellow pair. And now she's got a very washed out, not very distinct netting pattern, but she's very white. And the first baby I ever hatched from this pair, I held back to breed to that other female. And he looks like the other pair I had. He's just glowing yellow. He's such a nice animal. So I thought that was funny. Both babies are the opposite of their parents.
Yeah.
But those are the only two I've held back.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So there must be a lot of keepers of Molinas in Canada. Then a lot of them gone to Canada. Or have you exported them out?
I would like to start exporting stuff, but I find you got to find one buyer to buy a bunch of stuff, you know. So so far, I've only sold in Canada. So all those babies are around here somewhere.
Oh, amazing. That's cool. It'd be interesting to see. They seem to change quite a bit from babies to, like you were saying, to adults. The pattern and everything seems to change. I just can't believe how underrated they are. I mean, Canada seems to be pretty good if they've bought 60 off you, but some of the other places in Europe, they're really slept on. It's weird.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's like a better water monitor for me. Like, it's not too big, but it's still a big lizard, a male anyway.
Yeah.
And yeah, the most tameable one out of all the ones I've worked with. Like, they're great. Yeah.
Definitely. And like I said, there's that, because they got that so much variability. There's so many projects if people want to start line breeding them stuff for different stuff. It's I think they'll get more popular. I think more people that speak about them and see more pictures and stuff, I think they're gonna sort of might be the next big thing. I'm hoping they are. I really enjoy them. I really enjoy them.
Yeah, they're kind of a little known one. Like, unless you're in the reptile scene, a lot of people are like, I don't know what it is. But do you guys have much like for different looks of Molinas?
Oh, we do. Yeah, pretty much everything. Like I said, there seems to be some from Taliabu that are like the really bright yellow ones, and they're black, sort of black and yellow, really bright. And then we've pretty much got, we've got like a lot of white ones, like whitish ones with a lot of ocelli on them. So there's probably like 5 or 6 different looks that we've got. And then like the babies that we get are just, I've got, like I said to you earlier, I'd describe it as like a jungle pattern on some of them. It's like really, like, it's going to obviously break up as it gets bigger, but really crazy. And that was next to some that were spotted. So yes, they're really cool. Are
you familiar with that Anthony Sains guy?
No.
I don't know if he's even in the hobby anymore. But he had some just patternless ones. And those ones were nice.
Yeah, so it's like a bright yellow lizard, basically, with no, and then you can go no pattern. You can go the other way and get the really heavily black ones. I mean, I just think there's so much potential, especially now. Like I said, I pretty much overlooked them in the UK. They're a bit harder to keep because obviously the males can get quite big. Yeah. But if you've got like the space, I mean, they're, like I said, they're super docile if you work with them, and then you've got all these opportunities to do some different stuff. Do you know what I mean? Like to line breed them and stuff.
Yeah, I think it would be a cool project for sure. You can do more than you could with like the Indicus.
Yeah, the Indicus is a pretty. They're just black with spots most of the time.
yeah.
I mean, they're fantastic lizards. But yeah, I just don't get it. There's so much potential with those Molinas that I don't know why they've been around for so long as well. And you're the first person I know that's really been like smashing them out really.
Yeah, you almost need like like a good YouTube channel to really showcase them, or like a big influencer. It seems to be that's what gets people onto it.
Definitely. Yeah, they're very cool. Just say hello to a few people in the chat. Hi, Mike. Thanks for joining, mate. Hi, Dan. That's one of the guys from the UK. And I think the guy, I've forgotten his name already, you were speaking about with the Molinas.
Oh, Anthony Sains?
Yeah. I think he just does iguanas now is what someone's saying.
Oh, yeah. He was doing the Cyclura, I think.
Oh, nice. So, yeah, do you want to say anything more on the Molinas, or do you want to move on to something else?
No, they're pretty typical. I mean, I got probably 8 or 10 babies right now. A couple eggs going to hatch, probably in the next 2 weeks or so.
And what are you finding incubation time on those? Up to 200 days or?
200 days at 85 degrees. Yeah.
Nice.
And I notice with any of my Indicus stuff, I temp where they lay the eggs, and they lay the eggs at 85 degrees.
Yeah. And they're just doing that in those nest boxes you got with the cocoa peat and
the nest box every time, yeah.
Nice. Oh, that's good. That's the other thing that's really good about them compared to like the tree monitors. They don't seem to be as fussy. It's like seem to just lay where they want every time. It seems pretty easy.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know that I've had any issues of them like not liking a spot.
Sweet. There we go, Mike. I didn't know Brian was actually working with a mic with the Molinas and Nick Lillis. I don't actually know who that is, so you have to.
Yeah, I was talking to Brian, and I think he's got some holdbacks. From the sounds of it, I don't know if he had his original ones, but he was telling me he's got some holdbacks that are getting close to breeding now.
Have you raised any of your ones up? Joe, not to breed. Haven't done that yet.
I just have. Well, the first one I ever had, it's funny, the unrelated pair that I held back, they were both the two first Molinas I ever hatched. They hatched a couple days apart, and they were the first two to hatch, and oddly enough, the male is the nicest one that I've hatched yet.
Nice.
So he's getting big. She's not there yet. She's super timid.
Yeah.
And I tried as babies to raise them up together, and it wasn't a good idea.
Right.
So he's getting pretty big, but she still has a while to go before she'll be breeding.
Yeah, that might be worth touching on. I think you found the same as me. The Molinas males get a lot bigger than the female. I was shocked at like the two clutches that I've had since I've been at the farm, how tiny they were. It's like I wasn't even really looking at them because I thought they needed to get a bit bigger. But
like your females that laid.
Yes, yeah. Since I've been here, we've obviously bred them pre-me, but I've had two clutches here, and they were tiny.
Yeah, I noticed that I had back before I was breeding them. I got some that were supposed to be a pair, and it was two girls. And to be honest, at the time, I didn't even have them really set up to nest because I didn't think it was an issue at the time. But man, they were the size of a tree monitor. And they were in eggs, full-size eggs. The eggs weren't even smaller than, where my breeder females are like this big without the tail, right?
Yeah.
But the little ones, and I even actually just Jobiensis, I've got some raising up. Dude, my biggest female's like, she's over 4 foot and, like this big around. But I have two females. One was nesting last night. I haven't checked her this morning. But tail collapsed, back legs collapsed. She's ready to lay. And then I had another one lay almost a month ago. And dude, this big without the tail. They're like the size, they're the exact same size as my female green tree monitors. But yet my other main big female's over 4 foot. Like it's crazy how small they can start laying.
Definitely, yeah. It was just something that shocked me. We got some really big males. I'm like, and these ones that bred, these males are huge. I was like, there's no way on earth that is breeding with that, and they obviously did. It's like, it's nice. That's probably another good thing with them. I know that the females can get bigger, but yeah, if you got a female one, or you could sex a female hatchling, you might even get like a really mid-sized monitor.
Yeah, they're nice for that.
Definitely. Let's move on to. Oh, do you want to go to Oore? You've had a little bit of success with those in the past.
Yeah, it's a sore spot for me.
I wanted to get out of the way, mate.
Yeah. So I've had female. I've never had a male. But same thing. It was usually about 5 eggs every 3 months. I had one female that was laying every 2 months. And it was just bang, bang, bang. No matter what I would do, she would just still keep laying that much. But the other female I had, I lost. I don't know when was that. I asked you for a male like a month or 2 ago. Yeah. She just. I don't like. I was telling you, I accounted for. She was at least 12 years old. She was in pretty rough shape when I got her. But yeah, she just for a week just didn't really want to eat, wasn't herself. Normally comes and attacks her for food. Like she's just gracious. And I don't know if she was old or what, but she just passed away on me. So I'll be acquiring more.
We'll get you definitely get you some more over. It'd be good to get them in someone like your hands who's had success. That's why I wanted to get you a male so much, because like I said, to get them going sort of that frequency is pretty good. They don't seem to be as easy as some of the other ones, so it's good that you got them going pretty good.
Yeah, they were pumping them out, and I had a few eggs too that I thought I was going to get lucky with Partho.
Yeah.
They looked phenomenal in the incubator for like 2 months, and then they would crash out.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get you some. Don't worry about that. And then I think you'll smash them. I think that if you've sort of cracked the code on those. And again, another really underrated monitor. It's like, I think really for those people who really don't know what they are or haven't seen many of them, but yeah, they're fantastic as well.
And they're like a miniature black dragon. Like everybody wants a black monitor, but they only, you know what I mean? You get a 3-4 foot. It's way better than a water monitor. Well, for somebody who doesn't have the space for a big water monitor.
They get so big, those black dragons. They're huge. We got some here. Crazy. Like I said, we're lucky we got them all outside. But yeah, I wouldn't even imagine. It's like room size enclosures for those indoors.
Have you seen? Do you guys ever have those calico Oore? Have you seen those?
They've popped up, but we haven't got any here. We've got the ones that get like quite the white faces and they get a bit of speck. There's a really good example of one online that I think everyone's going to that one, which I think is, I don't know. It's like a really good specimen, but I haven't seen many like that for sure.
Yeah, the one with like the white head and a gray body. Yeah,
we've got some of it with some pretty white heads and sort of it sort of comes down a bit more into the body, but yeah, nothing that I would say was like a proper calico.
Okay, I'd be curious what that is. If it's just if it's a mutation or if it's a what?
Yeah, I don't know. The problem with that calico is it doesn't seem to breed in a lot of stuff, like the tokay geckos and I think the reticulated pythons. It seems to be like a one-off, and when you try to breed it, you never get calicos out. I'm not sure. I really don't know, but I don't know if there's a calico project that actually you can get more calicos out. Maybe ball pythons.
There is in balls, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't count.
Yeah, they've got a lot in that. But yeah, a lot of the stuff. We had retics and stuff here, and a lot of it. And like I said, the tokays. I know someone in the UK that's worked with them a lot. And then we worked with them here prior to me being here, and they never seemed to prove out. So it'd be interesting. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they're cool. Be interesting to see what I think we were speaking to before this about this these small red ones or black ones with these red noses, whether that is something or not. But I'm starting to think after like I had 10 of them out today that had that black coloration with the red nose, and that nose is fading to white. So
yeah, an age thing.
Interesting. We had eggs off one of those ones that was like fully black with the red nose, but like we were saying before, I think they can breed so small we can't really take that into being like a different locality or something just yet.
Yeah, you gotta grow them out, I guess. Well, even peach throats, man, people are always trying to tell me like, no, peach throat stays tiny, that's why I want one instead of Molinas or something. I'm like, dude, my one female is not as big as a male Molinas, but bigger than my female Molinas, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we got some huge. I've in Batanta, I've seen some 5-foot ones easy, really big ones. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think they're. I don't know if there's a population that is smaller. Maybe the Biak ones. We got a few of those here. None of them are too big, so I think they might be a dwarf one, if you want to call that, or a smaller one. But yeah, most of them, like the Jayapuras and the Sarong ones, seem to get pretty big.
Okay, yeah, I think I have 3 localities of peach throats.
Okay.
I think maybe one's the Jayapura, the one that just laid.
Yeah, they're heavily banded. I think the Jayapura ones typically.
What is the Strong like?
Pretty banded as well. Those two are quite similar. The Biak ones are sort of more spotted, and then the Batanta ones are sort of black and white.
Okay, yeah, I have the one that just laid. She looks a lot like she has the pastel Doriana's look.
Okay.
A big ocelli, a lot of marbling.
Is it banded or spots?
Spots. And then I have a pair that is just almost like Doriana's, like, well, just black with little tiny speckles, like a mangrove almost.
Okay.
And then I've got the more green.
Are they black? Are they like black and white, like an exanthic looking one or not?
No, the spots are yellow,
yeah. Okay.
But the male doesn't have a blue tail.
Okay, so the Biacs there might be a Biac then. They don't seem to have too much of a blue tail. The Patanta ones don't have a blue tail, but then you get the Strongs and Jaipuras have the really blue tails.
Yeah, okay.
Send some photos over. I'll have a look for them. But yeah, they're probably a few different species there, to be honest. They seem to be pretty different, especially those ones on Biac and Patanta. They look very different to the other ones.
Yeah. I've seen the Batantas really nice.
Yeah. I mean, the crazy thing with them, those have been exported for ages, were under just Jobiensis, and then obviously people have just cottoned on that they're a bit different, and now everyone wants Patanta ones. But we've sent loads out from here that we just sold as Jobiensis because nobody really cared. They just wanted a peach throat. So it's quite interesting.
Lately, everybody's been talking about it.
Yeah.
The silver spots or whatever they used to call them.
Yeah.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. I think that's what used to happen. I mean, they're definitely something different. I really wouldn't surprise me if they're a different species from where they are and how different they are. But it's just funny how before anyone put a name on them, they were just Jobiensis. Then it just takes the right person to be like, oh no, these are Batanta ones, or these look, someone to take the time to look at them and go, no, these don't look anything like these banded ones. And then the market goes up. Everyone's just calling us for Batanta Jobiensis now.
That's like I said, man, those influencers are, you got to have a good YouTube channel that pushes this stuff. But
definitely. Yeah, hopefully someone does it for Molinas. I think they're just so underrated. I mean, all these Indicus stuff, I said to you before, I think they're going to be the next big thing. The tree monitors have seen a really big uptick in stuff, which is good, and loads of them being captive bred now. I mean, going back like 15, 20 years, it was unheard of for anyone to be doing any success with the tree monitors, and the Indicus stuff was just like completely unheard of. We've got a few clutches of tree monitors. Scatty, it's going to die.
Yeah.
Good to see more people working with them and having some success for sure.
No, it's definitely changed.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah, it got a bit squirrely for a bit with all the morphs and stuff. Either I was doing carpet python morphs and stuff, got out the monitors completely, went to carpet python morphs. That was the big thing. And then it's nice to see now people sort of broadening their horizons, I think.
Yeah, going back. I see a lot of guys do that. Like a lot of guys do that for ball pythons, dropped all the oddball stuff, got into the ball pythons, and then are now starting to branch out again.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's a space. Some of the morphs they're doing now with those ball pythons is just insane. It was, playing Frankenstein or whatever you want to call it with all the different genetics and is fun, but it just overtook everything. Early 2000s, it was like, if it's not a morph, it's not important. And we really risk it losing a lot of these really interesting species, especially the monitors.
Oh, massively, yeah. Yeah, well, even the pythons, like, look at things like Savu pythons and stuff. Like, so many people now don't even know what that is.
They're completely gone, like, pretty much, even over here. They're just not being collected or whatever anymore. They're just not about. Do you know what I mean? It's insane. I'm sure there'll be an uptick if enough people, they'll start getting collected again. But yeah, they're. And
is it just because the demand is not there?
Yeah, I think that's what it is with a lot of this stuff. Is that we had it at the farms and we were breeding it or whatever, and people just weren't. I remember Savu pythons being maybe like $100 or something if you converted it into the UK.
Got them,
yeah, and then nobody wanted them, and they're a fantastic little python. And then unfortunately that price goes down. So then, interestingly, I haven't looked at the quota for Savus over here. It wouldn't surprise me if the quota's gone really far down now. So if they don't keep the quotas up for the export, things get cut in half. Oh. It's like, well, you're not exporting it, so you don't need the quota on them. So it wouldn't surprise me if they've come around. Even the captive bred quota might have dropped on those. But yeah, like I said, the guy who owns the farm here, he's just like, well, I had loads of them. We were breeding them, and nobody wanted them. So that we've reduced right down. I think we've got, maybe 5 pairs of them. That's it.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
But then, like I said, I'm sure there'll be an uptick on those. Same with Dunn's pythons. Nobody wanted Dunn's pythons, and there was a few guys in the States that really wanted them. Put the word out. Luckily, bred them like Ryan Young and Nick Mutton, because they would have just been gone. You know what I mean?
I have one actually just ovulated.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, they're fantastic. Right, we'll keep it on the monitors for a bit because people will get annoyed, and then we'll talk about the pythons because the pythons are just as cool for sure. So you've had some really good success with the Indicus as well, CodeyJoe.
Yeah. Yeah, those Solomon Islands, like I said, it was around 60 of them too.
Okay, not with the. Did you say some Merauke ones and some other ones?
Oh, with the Indicus?
Mm.
Yeah, I have a new pair that I just got.
Okay.
Like, I got them in fall.
Okay.
And they're, I don't know. Like I said, I'll send you some pictures. You would have a better idea.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, maybe Biak or Sarong or something. They're more oscillated pattern, not those fine speckles like the Solomon Island ones.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, those Solomon Island ones, man, they're just way too high strung. So these ones seem much better, but they're only, well, we were talking about size. Now I'm keeping an eye out. I wouldn't be surprised if the female starts laying soon.
Yeah.
But they're small. They're like, the size of they're the size of a green tree monitor right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Have they got yellow spots or white spots, those ones?
White.
White. They might be Meraukes then. Yeah, Meraukes are quite.
The
quite
male
white.
has a ton of orange on his lower jaw.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The problem with that, the Indicus stuff, there's so many. I mean, it's insane. Another one there's endless possibilities for people just to work with a few different groups of different localities. There's one called Wazoo, which pretty nice, look quite similar to Merauke, but more yellow, very yellow on the tail. The Merauke ones tend to be like quite xanthic looking, with sort of small white spots. Obviously, you got your ones from Biak.
Yeah, these are, I guess, overall quite yellow.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, send some photos over and have a look. Like I said, I think we work with 4 or 5 localities here off the top of my head. Some of them are like that Wazio one is like, is that just a nice Merauke? The ones that I've seen popping up, it's like, I haven't produced enough of the Indicus, especially like Meraukes and stuff, just to see if they're just picking a lot of things that happens a lot with stuff here. They pick the nice ones out and then just give it a new name, unfortunately.
You have some localities that you notice are significantly larger.
The Jaipuras are pretty big.
Are they? Yeah.
What else? Not really. Just the males get pretty big for a lot of them. I'm trying to think what actually is a smaller one that's not like its own thing. We obviously work with the Collie over here, which isn't obviously an Indicus. They're pretty small. They're very cool. I've seen. Yeah, they all seem to be pretty similar.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious how big these new ones are going to get, because those Solomon Islands I had, they're pretty small. A male is maybe 4 foot, and I've had them for like 9 years. And the female was only like 2.5 foot, like a small lizard.
Yeah, they're what I would probably class as like a dwarf Indicus, a bit like those Collie. They're you can get some really, like, I say really big, like a 4 foot one is a big one. I've got like probably maybe 5, maybe 8 pairs actually. And we've had eggs off those, and the females again are tiny, and the males are actually tiny as well. And then we've got one that's been here for ages, and he's like 4 foot. But so they've got that potential, but they seem to. I think he's just been here a long time and been overfed. So I think there are some pretty cool ones. Those Solomon ones for sure, from what I've seen, seems to be like an actual dwarf Indicus. Those Collie, and there's a couple that I can't talk about just yet that I'm working with. That they're really small as well.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that pans out as.
But yeah, the Patanta Indicus, I've seen them get pretty big. The ones from Waigeo, they're pretty big as well. And then the mainland stuff, all those sort of localities are pretty similar. Meraukes can get fairly, I mean, not huge. We're talking like 4 to 5 foot for like a big male. So.
Yeah, good size.
Yeah. But I think the females are all going to get, again, seems to be pretty small.
Yeah, it seems to be across the board.
Definitely. Any other monitors in the Indicus complex? You're working with some Uonoi. How are you finding those?
Psychotic. Psychotic. They're funny because they'll go from, you'll see them and they'll take off. The one specifically, though, actually is like, yeah, you go and you put your face up to look at it, and the cage is same as this, 4 feet front to back, and it'll be laying on the backside, and it'll launch through there and just smash. Like if there was no glass, it would be locked onto your face. Like it tries to bite you in the face, and it'll jump. Like those cages have a 2-foot solid barrier, and then there's glass doors, and they just jump and fly up and smash the glass and like try and bite you. Like they're nuts.
Yeah. Like I said off air, I don't like calling anything aggressive, but they're very, very defensive. Like the other stuff will just run away and hide. If they're cornered, they come at you. And it's the only monitor I've actually known like that. I was a bit worried about the Salvadori, some of the wild caught Salvadori we have here, and thought they would be bad, but they're pretty chill. Those Uonoi, like I said, there's 2 of us. There's me and one other guy that will actually go in there. If I ask any of the other guys to go in there, they point blank refuse. So it's just unfortunate. Like I said, I think the baby ones is the way forward because they seem pretty handleable. So if you can get them onto them, get them captive bred, then that might work out. But some of these other ones is crazy.
Get past the hump first and makes them captive.
Yeah, hopefully they don't do it. I used to have a lot of Nile monitors, and I used to be able to get them pretty tame. But when they used to get to like a teenage, what you call a teenage year, they'd sort of go psychotic as well. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen with the Uonoi, and we can sort of start working with some nice ones because really beautiful.
I see some of those guys in Indonesia like that go to those like reptile shows. Like it seems like the shows are different there. It's like a dog show where those guys got them on their shoulder, man, and they're just petting them, and
they're just cold. I actually bought a monitor from one of them. I was judging at one of the competitions. I was like, this thing's like, super tame. It's like really, really, really tame. It's like an Indicus type. And then I got it back warmed up, and it's just back to completely normal Indicus. So I think a lot of these Uonoi at the shows are sort of just cold. Yeah.
Okay. That's a trick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even a cold one, I can't believe is that good. I mean, they're just something different. They're super interesting to keep. They don't seem to act like any other monitor really. I was speaking to someone I know in the UK, Dawn, and she's got some, and she even says they're sort of just completely different.
Yeah, they're interesting. Apparently, in the wild, they ambush a little ground bird. I don't know if that's what I've read anyway.
Yeah. They're often found by megapode nests, which is those ground nesting birds.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a cool lizard, but
yeah,
hard to sex.
Yeah, hard to sex for sure. Yeah, we spoke about that. Definitely difficult, and I mean they're just really pretty. I think if they weren't so pretty, if the people started to work with them, they probably sort of get them to think. I think that's why nobody's probably worked with them successfully, because they probably get them and like these are beautiful, and then sort of move them on.
Yeah, expensive and psycho.
Yeah,
well worth it. Yeah,
definitely. If you can get the captive bred ones and work with them, hopefully that's the trick with them for sure.
Yeah, they remind me a lot of the Doriana, because I have the Dorianas too. They remind me a lot of them physically.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, even the head structure is pretty similar. They've got big teeth.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. If you get bit by, I got bit by one on a glove, like some welding gloves. It held onto the glove for a good half an hour. I put it back in the cave. Oh, insane.
Yeah, and you can feel them, man, just chomping like.
Yeah. I would not want to get a bite off one of them. But someone needs to work with them, or else they'll be lost. So.
Yeah.
Sure. So you work with some Dorianas as well?
Yeah, I have a trio together, actually. Normally, I would never keep. I would like to remove one, but I got them as a trio, and I have them in the enclosure is 21 feet by 5 feet by 9 feet. And they do okay. There's one in there that's kind of a bully when there's food around. I believe I have a pair of sarongs and then a maruki.
Okay.
That's the bully. That one I find is very aquatic. I've got a 300-gallon pond in there, and that one's always swimming. Which I found interesting.
Have you found that with the Uonoi at all? they're pretty aquatic. I found here they seem to be quite a generalist. Like some days they'll spend out on the branches a lot of the time, and then for like 2-3 days they can be in the water. You found that at all indoors?
I find that somewhat with mine, yeah, especially the one. Just be passed out in the water. And then my one spends a lot of time underground. And then my other one spends about half its time in a burrow and the other half of the time in a big hollow log.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why they're so weird. They seem to like have all these different niches that they use. Like our boreal some of the time, like literally the same we got here, where they'll spend like 3 days just underground, and you're like, where's that gone? And then the other time in the water. They're very interesting. But yeah, very Dorianus-like as well. Is that all you've got for the Indicus stuff?
Now, yes. Yeah, I think so.
Sweet. Tree monitor wise, what are you working with?
I just at the moment I have a really old blue tree, which is just on display in my store. And then I have a trio of green trees. I was actually, just before we got on here, I was checking the eggs. They're due to hatch anytime, but and then I hopefully, possibly, maybe have a pair of yellow trees coming.
Nice.
They're my favorite, man. I didn't care much for them until I seen them in person, and I was like,
yeah,
they're beautiful in person.
Yeah. I think the picture, you can never really capture it on the picture. Sorry. How yellow they are, some of them. We got some insane ones here, but even like a bad yellow is still like really nice. Personality wise, they seem to be the best. They seem to be out all the time. Really nice. They're my favorite. I could talk about yellow trees all day.
They're wonderful. Do they, from what I can see, are bigger like a blue tree? Does that seem to be? Yeah,
they're I don't really see the difference between a lot of them. I mean, you can get some really big blue trees, but we've got a lot of blue trees that are exactly the same as like a green tree. The only one that's really different out of all of them is the Cordensis. Seem to be overall, out of but looking at all of them, you obviously get some bigger ones of those, but overall they're smaller. Where all the other ones, Prasinus, Bomi, all those are sort of exactly the same size, and then you maybe get one blue tree that is massive. The yellows I've got are pretty. Like I said, we've got huge ones, and then we've got sort of average size ones. I haven't noticed them being any bigger or anything like that. Okay.
Yeah, they're cool. I had, even my greens, the greens I have now are pretty small, but I got a male from a guy that was like huge, man. And I'm shocked. I didn't expect him to even get that big, but the other ones, the group I have now are typical small.
Yeah, which is nice. Do you keep those any different to what you're doing with the Indicus stuff?
Not really. In general, it's the same concept, just smaller. And then the nest boxes, I do a little bit different. I pretty much just have the nest boxes half-ass elevated. They're sitting on a milk crate. And it's like a little bit smaller, but it's like a 5-gallon bucket, And then I have a hole in the lid with a cork tube mounted in the hole.
Okay.
I've been wanting to do some of those ones that I see you do, those two. I was going to use PVC.
Yeah.
But because I have one female she seems to be a picky nester.
Yeah, a bit like I was saying before, the tree monitors compared to the Indicus stuff, it seems, but I know the tree monitors are definitely way picky. Those Indicus stuff seems to just want an area and lay. So that is the real big thing with the tree monitors. And even the same female will want different things each time. I definitely haven't cracked the code of using those tubes or anything. Like I said, it wasn't really my idea. I get credited for it. It was the farm's idea probably 15 years ago. They've used it with, like I said, it works really well outdoors. We just had the first clutch today indoors, and they've gone into the box, and those have actually got those tubes in as well. So I think you just need to offer both of them.
Yeah. Do you notice a certain temperature that your stuff lays at?
Today it was just 85 in that nest box. Outdoors it varies. I found
it's just
second, sorry.
You're
It's indoors of heated with a heat mat, and then
Okay.
outdoors is literally just a box. And I think that's why those tubes work so well outdoors, because it takes a lot less to heat up that bamboo tube basically than it does a big box of soil and peat that's just outside, sort of ambient. Because it can get pretty cold here at the moment. It's probably getting like 19 Celsius at night, so pretty cold. And then, like I said, I found eggs outside at like 35 Celsius, so that's pretty hot.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I definitely haven't cracked it. I've got so many messages about that saying, "Oh, thank you so much. It's working and stuff." But I don't think it definitely doesn't work all the time. I've had females outdoors that have used the tube, and then the next time they've used the nest box.
Yeah, just give them whatever you can, and
yeah, just give them both. That's what I do. All the outdoor ones have got a box now with a tube, and then all the indoor ones have got a heated box and those bamboo tubes.
Yeah. No, that's something I'm gonna have to try and make some.
Yeah. I mean, it's so much easier in those tubes. You just lift it up. You don't have to dig the eggs or anything. Just go straight in there. It's nice and easy.
Do you find your trees for the most part are like the same as your Indicus, like on frequency? Is it like every 3 months they're laying?
The outdoor stuff, no, because we've got obviously a rainy season, so they're really seasonal. The Indicus stuff and the tree monitors, basically from September until probably May is the sort of close off season. So we won't get any eggs out of. We had 2 clutches of Molinas pretty late, but yeah, for the most part, it'll be sort of shutting off September. And then they won't breed again until May. Obviously, the indoor stuff is that regimented sort of 3 months. I've got some of the Indicus stuff indoors, so I wouldn't surprise me if it does follow that 3 month sort of pattern.
Just go, yeah. I noticed my stuff here, they seem to really waver. They just
once you got it locked in.
Yeah, every 3 months.
Which is nice, which is good.
Yeah. If you slow the food, then they'll skip a cycle or 2, I find. But if you just stay the same, then they just go. Yeah.
You can almost time your clock to it. Especially for the tree monitors, is that 3 months. I used to have a Beckerai, I still have them in the UK. She'd actually go every 2 months, which was crazy. Stop doing that now. I've told my mum actually looks after them. I told them to like literally not feed them because she'll just keep cycling. She has actually switched off, which was good, but there was probably like a good year or 2 that she was going every 2 months, so it gets a bit scary when
I had same thing, just wouldn't stop.
It's a lot, but condition wise they seem pretty good. They can sort of rebound, but it can't be good for them to do it every 2 months. I mean, 3 months seems to be pushing it. So that's nice with the stuff we've got here outdoors, because I've got like a really sort of strict season and everything sort of gets a break, and it's a lot more natural. But then like the indoor stuff, obviously I can produce the captive bred tree monitors when we're on our off season. That's the reason I sort of set that up when I got here.
Oh, that's a good way to do it. It's funny too how you can do it. It's like barometric pressure seems to play a role, but not completely. Like it seems like if you make consistent conditions, any of that stuff will breed kind of any time.
Yeah, there's definitely something to it for sure, for like the rain and the temperature. The light cycles is like keeping 12-12 indoors, and they get 12-12 outdoors. So I don't think that plays into. I think you can use that to your advantage, which is probably more with the cooling. But a lot of it ties in with if you're cooling it, you tend to not feed it. So I found with all the monitors, it's definitely that calorie. What's the opposite of a deficit? An overcalorie that actually. Yeah, and increasing those calories is enough to get them to sort of yolk up those eggs, and that's what you need. It can go wrong. I've told a few people sort of how to breed them. They've overfed it, they haven't bred, and then they keep the fat on. So it's a tricky balance you got to play, getting it right.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to keep them hot enough, so you're burning it off or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, otherwise you just get a fat feed. I did it myself with some Risingrai. She was cycling really well for like doing that 3 month pattern. For whatever reason, she missed the cycle, but I'd fed her to breed, and then she just for like a whole year it was just like wouldn't breed and just stayed really fat, and I had to sort of starve her down. So there is this like risk to this food cycling if you don't get it right.
Yeah, I have one of my green trees. I got a pair, and the thing is so fat, man. Like you think she's full of eggs, but she just doesn't lay. Like,
yeah, it's so hard to get it off. They must just keep it around all their organs and stuff, and probably really bad for them, and really hard to get it off unless you can get another clutch out of them. Sort of resets. That rising gry had a clutch luckily, and it all just dropped off her, and she sort of reset then, and just had to be a bit more careful not to overdo it again.
Yeah, what are you feeding them?
Here, we feed a lot of crickets because we breed crickets here and roaches. We've got 2 species of roaches. We've got like it's like a wood roach, like a winged thing. They're a pain in the ass, but they're really good, like a mid-size. And then we've got the dubia roaches. And then we collect from the paddy fields, like grasshoppers, like a native grasshopper. We can't get those at the moment. So at the moment, it's just crickets and the dubia roaches. And then we breed mice as well. Funnily enough, the stuff over here that I've been keeping like really doesn't like quail. Quail was really useful and it's really lean. But for some reason, the stuff here doesn't like it. They'll eat the mice, which you have to be a lot more careful with. But like I said, we were buying like thousands of quail and we just wasted them. So I was like, oh, we won't do that for the tree monitors. The Indicus stuff and all the Salvadorian stuff, that they love the quail. Yeah. But for whatever reason, the tree monitors have switched off it. But I have found that with tree monitors, they can go through stages. So I think before I got here, they were actually eating a fair few quail. And for whatever reason, they've switched off and gone on to, we just feed, the biggest we feed is like what we call a fluff. So like just a really small mouse, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'd be nice to get them back on the quail. Quail's a lot better, I think, than the mice for not being able to get them too fat, for sure.
Yeah, I feed a lot of birds to the Indicus stuff anyway.
Yeah. That, like I said, that's another plus for them. They seem to eat everything. They're not so picky like the tree monitors.
Yeah, no, they don't care.
Which is good. So just the greens and yellows, the tree monitor wise.
Yeah, well, hopefully the yellows. I don't have them yet.
Okay. Yeah.
So just basically a trio of greens.
Nice. Yeah, we can't really beat a green. They're pretty nice.
Good, and there's not many being produced in Canada in regards to greens. Oddly enough, the most produced in Canada, the only ones I really think are produced in Canada, besides Brandon, like Brandon breeds everything. Is blues. I've only seen anybody else breed blues. Yeah, they're just so popular. They're actually my least favorite out of all of them, believe it or not, is the blue tree monitor. They're beautiful, but so many people work with them now. I used to get like people trying to trade blues for yellows all the time. I was like, I really don't want them. So yeah, I think they annoyingly, because they're that one, the other one sort of got forgotten, and then it was all blue trees. Now there seems to be quite an influx of blue tree monitors out there, which I mean isn't a bad thing to get any of these monitors captive bred. But yeah, it's some of these other ones. Like I said, the blacks were the one. Tree monitors were nearly non-existent in the UK at one point, and even like Europe, they went really down because they were just a cheap rubbish one that nobody wanted, and nobody was working with them. Which is all. Yeah, it seems like now more people are into the blacks.
Yeah, I think luckily because there's been that sort of influx with the tree monitors, everyone's just interested in all of them, which is excellent, really. So everyone's can sort of work with what they like. But back again when we had that MORPH era, so I couldn't sell. I had a shop and I couldn't sell Pracinas for like £500. It's like struggled. Blacks were like never. If I had a black in the shop, it just wouldn't get sold at all. So they nobody bothered breeding them. And then luckily we've got that influx now of a lot of people getting into the tree monitors and people wanting to work with all of them, which is nice.
Yeah. I used to have Similis. That was one I seen you guys are cranking out.
Yeah, crazy.
It's funny, a lot of people seem to have issues breeding that species.
Yeah. I mean, I've been speaking to Mike Stefani, who can breed any monitor. I think he's having some success with them now. But I was shocked. I'd never really bothered with them. They hadn't been in the UK. There was some knocking around Europe, but not in any sort of great demand or great numbers. And then we smash right. I literally got a clutch out of them yesterday. So we're in the off season now. So sort of contradicting to what I've said, the Similar seem to be, and the Timors seem to be an exception to that rule. They seem to breed completely year round. So yeah,
They're like a
They're,
tropical Aki. Yeah.
That's a really good way of explaining them. Really underrated. Really nice monitors.
Super
But yeah,
cool. I sold mine probably last year.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting to keep it. They can be a little bit skittish, but some of the ones we got, even, I mean, ours are basically wild because they're outside all the time. Some of them will just sit there basking, compared to some like the Timors and stuff that are pretty skittish.
Yeah, I found Timors to be like that. Yeah.
But nice, super productive. I don't know what that is. Like I said, I've been speaking to Mike. If anyone's going to do it, Mike's going to do it and get them going. I don't know why they're so different indoors to outdoors.
Yeah. And do you guys have them set up indoors now that you got that facility?
No, but the owner wanted to. He's like mad for building stuff. Like he's such a legend. Like he'll do anything I want him to do. Like cage design. He's really good at cage design. He's been doing it for 30 years. All that indoor stuff, I was going to build it all out of wood. He's like, oh, we'll just build it out of brick. And I literally don't have the mind to envision things. What it'd be like. I was like, how are you going to build them out of brick? Anyway, these brick ones have come out absolutely amazing. They're never going to rot. Like all like metal frames and stuff. And he was like, oh, do you want to do anything with the, we got the Similus, the Timors, and the Affenberg guy, all like in a row, in like probably the hottest part of the farm. He was like, do you want to do anything with those? I was like, no. And he was like, you sure? I think we can do something. I was like, they're doing the best out of everything on the whole farm. We'll just leave them as it is. So yeah, they're all sort of just set up exactly the same, all outside. I haven't even bothered to try and take them indoors. Maybe if I get bored one day, I might just try a few indoors. But yeah, they just, yeah, I think we got like 20 of them, and they just crank out eggs all the time.
Yeah, that's decent.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. You get like, I was posting those videos up when Pete was over here. We were literally getting like 2-3 clutches a day sometimes of the Similus. It's like collecting them. And now we've got all these babies.
I seen that. I was blowing my mind. I was like, a year ago, I would have been all over those babies, but
yeah, they're awesome. Really tiny. They come out so small compared to like even the Timors and the Affenberger. The eggs are tiny, and they hatch really small, but they soon grow. They're really ferocious.
Oh, that's cool. Maybe one day. Are you guys breeding Dorianas there?
We do, yeah. We haven't got many. We've got some Jayapuras, and then I've sort of built up a collection of. We got some Sarongs. I think that's it. Just Sarongs, Merauke's as well, but not many. I think like 1 or 2 pairs of each. I haven't had any success with those myself yet. We've bred them at the farm.
Okay.
But they're all outdoors.
Yeah, that would be a good one to get going. I'd like to pair up my other one, but I've gotten eggs, but when I had so much going on, I kept missing them. And I would actually find them dug up, scattered across the cage or eaten, where they would crap them out. And it was fun.
Yeah, they seem to be pretty bad for that, those Varanus. Like I said, the owner here said that a lot of the times that when he's bred them before, he's not got clutches and they've eaten them. They can be a pain, especially if you've got the male in with the female like he used to have. Yeah,
it's difficult. I'd like to separate mine, but they're so big. Like, they're the biggest monitors that I have. And it's like, I feel bad taking them out of that 21-foot cage. So I'm like, wow.
Oh, wow. Oh, do you want to explain how you're keeping those? That sounds pretty impressive. That's like what we do over here.
What it is it's like my building, there was a big concrete stair set that went to the lower level. And then there was like a hallway, right? And then you would turn and go out of the hallway into the basement. But whoever was here before me closed over that stair set on the main level. So you go into the basement, and then there's this doorway, and then you look down in a hallway, and then just a big concrete stair set that just goes to the roof and stops. So it's just a useless stairwell. So I closed out the doorway and put a big door on it. And then I mounted lights and everything. I put full trees. I cut down some trees from up the street and lugged them down there. And I put they've got a 6-foot by 4-foot pond in there. And then I've got the basking lights all hanging above the stairs. So it's cool because it kind of reminds me of like an old temple. You know what I mean? You got this old stair set with monitors basking on it.
Nice.
So it's like 11 feet of it is just open room, and then 10 feet is just a stair set that goes just to the roof and stops. It's just a concrete room.
Nice.
So yeah. So I've just got, it's all mulch and everything on the bottom. I've got the same style nest box that I use for everything in there. And then, so I've got them at the moment. I don't really like it. I feel like if I were to put them in something smaller like this and dial it in more, then I could actually be producing them. But
yeah,
you feel bad taking them out of there, or at least until my monitor basement is done, then maybe I'll be motivated to do it. But
yeah, it's difficult. I've got some a really nice Jaipura Salvadori. She's just on her own in like a, I don't know how big it's huge, a huge old aviary. And it's like she's not really doing much in there. It's like, should I take her out and put her in? It's like, no, I feel bad now. She's been in there. She's sort of seen the life. So
that's the problem. Yeah, it's like they seem to breed better when you put them in something small. But
yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. What dwarf monitors are you working with? You have many of those left? Or? The dwarf monitor, the Audatria, like your Ackies and stuff like that.
I have 3 Ackies left. I'm on the fence of whether I'm going to continue with them or not. I mean, being somebody who sells reptiles for a living, like, it's nice to have Ackies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, a few years back when I was breeding them, there was, Brandon, and then that was pretty much it. So
yeah,
the demand was there and it was really good. But now, I mean, you go online and there's Ackies everywhere. So I may or may not continue with those. I have the yellow Ackies. I'm not really a fan of the reds.
Okay.
Same with the Kimberly Rock monitors. I may or may not continue with that project. There's so many people breeding them now too. And then I had some Pilbaras that I sold a couple of years ago. And now I've just taken on my buddy's pair. He just sent them to me on a breeding loan to try and get him going. So I'll probably continue with those. Those might be the only dwarfs that I continue with though.
Nice. Yeah, the Pilbs are pretty cool. Yeah, they've been yeah, definitely. I've kept them in the past, not very successfully. Seems to have quite a few problems. Speaking to Brandon, he says you have to keep them really, really hot. So that might be the key to them. Because a lot of the ones we got in Europe started getting a lot of like calcium deposits or like bad bones and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know. According to Brandon, you just got to keep them hotter than you'd think, and it sorts that out.
Yeah, that seems to be the key. I even noticed that with Ackies, like when you're keeping them to the point where you open the cage, you're like, man, nothing should be living in here. They just start cranking out babies like nobody's business. They're doing phenomenal. So I would assume that the pills will be the same.
Yeah.
But I've yet to breed them. The trio I had before ended up being 3 males. So that's why I sold them all. But
oh, really?
they'd be locked up in everything, man. And I was like, oh, yeah. Like, but it was a dominance thing. And then I actually had the 2 males when I was moving here. I was just about to leave to take another load here. And I heard a bunch of scuffling around after they were locked up. And they busted each other's arms. So,
sure.
Yeah, luckily I fixed them up and then I just got rid of them after that. And then now I got this pair. So we'll see if we can't start getting some babies out of them.
Nice. Did you say you had spinulosis before?
Yeah, I do.
How are you finding those?
They're wonderful. They remind me a lot of a tree monitor, just the way they act, their personality. Like they're very curious in your face. Like they open the cage and they come running over and are like checking you out. I'm trying to get another pair from a guy right now. We had a trade lined up and then he keeps screwing me around. But I would love to get more spinulosis. They're just wicked, man. And they're like kind of spiny, but iridescent still. Okay. Like it's a weird. Have you ever kept them?
Never. No, I don't know if I've even actually ever seen one, to be fair. So no, yeah, pretty interesting. They look a bit weird. The pictures I've seen, their skin doesn't look quite right. They look like wrinkly.
Yeah, they look wrinkly. They look like they're skinny almost or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're weird, man. The eyes, like from a distance, look black, and then they're like almost like a cat's tongue, like sharp, kind of. But being rough, it's weird for them to be so iridescent. Like
definitely.
They got this weird sheen on them, like, and they act just like a tree monitor. You give them stuff, and they'll like curl their fingers up and stick them in a hole and be like yanking stuff out. Like that's
cool.
Very cool monitor, and small too. They're like a tree monitor.
I was about to say, how big are them? How big are they?
Yeah, I could never get a grasp. Like I used to always look at videos. I'm like, how big do these things get? Like, but they're like a tree monitor.
Oh wow,
shorter tail. Yeah.
We can't work with them. Obviously, being from the Solomons over here, I don't think we're allowed to have them on our license. But yeah, very cool.
Oh yeah, because I guess you guys can only.
Yeah, we're just Indo stuff. We'd have to get them. I don't know if we'd even get. They'd have to be legally exported to us, and then we might be able to apply for them. But it'd probably take so much work. We got so much stuff to deal with. So yeah, it's nice to hear about that sort of stuff. I can't remember ever seeing any in Europe or anything. I'm sure they were there, but yeah, I don't know anyone that's working with them.
Oh, if you ever get the chance, they're super. I wouldn't even say underrated. They're just not really well known, but and they burrow. They're not huge on soaking. They just fill their water with dirt, like they dig it full of dirt. But I don't ever see them soak or anything.
They bury quite a bit.
Yeah, mine have a big. They've dug out a big burrow, and they sleep in there. But all day, man, they're just back and forth. They see you, and they're clawing at the cage. You do something in there, and they're like, literally, just like trying to inspect your hands. Like they're great.
That's cool. It'd be cool to get some of those. I don't know if people have been very successful with those.
I think somebody in Europe, maybe. There's a guy in the US. I think he goes by the Rodent Barn, maybe.
Okay.
And he was producing them fairly consistently. Like I'm pretty sure I seen him hatch at least three or four clutches, I think. And dude, he had the same thing, these same exact tubs for nest box, like typical monitor stuff. It was yeah.
Do the babies look any different? Are the babies like bright or anything like that?
No, the babies looked like the adults.
Okay.
I think maybe they might have had a little bit more brown to them. But they look just like the adults pretty much. They got that croc monitor pattern and
yes. Yeah, very cool. Yes, like I said, that's an interesting one for sure. Right then, should we move on to some pythons?
Sure, yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, that would be very cool, Dan, to have some of them over there. I did hear some rumors, but I don't know how true that was.
What is it? I heard something about the UK, like it's harder to export stuff to the UK. Is that true?
Yeah.
Somebody was saying there's like a different CITES process or something.
No, we've got the same CITES. So all of Europe, we need import permits, which I don't think you guys need in Canada. So once we get the export permits, you need import permits, and a lot of questions get asked.
That's right.
I've never had to do it myself. Obviously, I send stuff over. But yeah, I don't think it's compared to a lot of other countries. In fact, I know compared to a lot of other countries, Europe is like the worst. It's not just the UK, and I think the UK for a long time, and even now, are paying for coming up with questions that can't be answered or just asking for crazy amounts of information. So yeah, it's compared to you guys. I know like America seems to be fairly easy, and Canada I think is one of the easiest ones to get stuff to.
Okay, I always wondered why you guys didn't have much in comparison.
Yeah, so the big thing with that is we didn't really need to. So everything used to go into Europe, and then because we were in the European Union, you could just drive over, pick stuff up at like one of the big shows, and then there was free trade. So there was no checks. You didn't need CITES between sort of Europe, mainland Europe, so like Germany or Holland or something where the big shows are, and you could just drive it back to the UK. Because we did that Brexit, which is one of the stupidest things we've done, especially for the sort of animal trade. You now would have to get CITES to go over there. You'd have to have your CITES sorted and drive back. So it's closed off pretty much everything. It's actually probably easier to get us to get stuff over now than it is to get stuff from Europe. I think they're getting a little bit better. But yeah, we were just so used to not actually being able to, not having to import a lot of stuff directly into Europe, directly into the UK, but rather just drive over to Europe and then drive it back.
Yeah, okay.
That's sort of what's happened there.
Interesting.
So yeah, us not wanting to be in the European Union has for the animal side of things is sort of screwed us a bit. But now a lot more people have to look into actually importing stuff. So go back to what it was like before, where we were bringing quite a few bits in.
Nice. Well, that'd be good. It seems like the keeping standard is a little bit different over there.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know. Everyone's jumping on board. I don't really know how they keep stuff that differently in the States now to what we were doing. Maybe before, I think we were always very naturalistic in sort of the UK and Europe compared to like America and some places. But now it seems to sort of, we've all gone to the sort of same thing.
Yeah.
There's still sort of rat keepers and ball python breeders that keep stuff in racks and stuff in the UK and Europe. But for the monitor stuff, I don't know how different we've ever been. Maybe we were. I don't know.
Yeah. I guess the monitor's always been kind of a natural side.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's also what happened with that Brexit. So when we left that European Union, the stuff that we didn't have in the UK, it was hard for us to get again. So like those Similus, they were in Europe. Nobody bothered to get them because we were like, oh, we can just get them from Europe at some point. They cut that off and you're like, oh, now we really don't have this stuff like this gone.
Yeah.
And it's like having to import. So we've had like quite a few years now of that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, has anyone got any Similus? Has anyone got any whatever it is? And it's like, oh shit, there's literally no one bothered to get those because we always thought we'd be able to get them from Europe. So yeah, that's the tricky one. So good for a lot of things. The market for a lot of it in the UK has gone sort of up. Stuff like Similus and stuff, it's just not there. So
yeah, the demand's back.
Yeah. Sorry, my throat's really bad tonight. Too much smoking for sure. Talk about some of the Indonesian pythons then. You've had some amazing success with of the Indo pythons. It's up to you where you want to start. Maybe the Idora, that's like a crazy one.
Sure, yeah. I am keeping most of the oddball pythons except for carpets. I used to do carpets, but for whatever reason, just not.
Yeah.
Interesting.
John, just run through what you got because I don't know fully what you are keeping.
So python wise, I'm doing green trees, and then I have all the Liasis genus, Papuans, Timors, gold and black white lips, ring pythons. Australian olive pythons. And then I've got, like for boas, I've got emerald tree boas, Amazons, Dominicans, Bahamas, Cubans, rainbow boas, Dumerals, Argentines, red tails. I've got a lone Madagascar ground boa. I can't find a female.
Oh yeah, we got two here actually, but I don't think we've ever bred them. So this season we might be. I'll give them a go, but I don't know if they'll do very well over here. They're big and they're old, but I don't think we've ever had a litter out of them. But yeah, I was surprised to see them. We got some Dumerals. They were we actually imported those from Germany. Years ago, way before I was here. We had it's like a pair of Dumerals and then these Madagascan ground boas. I was like, fuck, I haven't seen those for centuries.
I would still find a female, yeah.
Yeah, you have to talk me through it. I've never bred any boas, to be honest, so I don't even know where to start with anything as a live litter.
Dude, if they're anything like Dumerals, they're so easy.
Okay.
It's funny too. Every year when my Dumerals are cycling, my Madagascar paces the cage so much that it'll get like staticky. Like all day, he'll just pace the cage. I feel bad. I'm like, I almost want to let him breed something else. I wouldn't, but
yeah. I wonder if they've been crossed quite a bit in the past.
Oh yeah, I've seen some that damn well it's a cross.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because, you can't get fresh blood of those. So
No, I've seen them for a bit, and then they just dropped off. I've never really been into too much into the boas, but yeah, it just seemed to all be doom rules for like after that. Like there was a little period where I seen the ground boas for a little bit, and then it was just doom rules after that.
And dude, they have like 3 to 5 babies, and the babies are just enormous.
Yeah,
like they come out eating adult mice. So I think was the thing with them, is they just don't have, the litters are too small.
Yeah, that sucks. So the Apodora, let's start with the Apodora then, because those are a really really hard one to tick off.
Yeah, that was.
Might not know what they're like. For some of the monitor guys, do you want to just explain what an Apodora python is?
That one was like a life goal for me. It's basically just a really large species of python. Not compared to retics and stuff, but I mean, my adults are all around 13 feet, but not very thick. Like, there may be something like this. And a very powerful python. A lot of people say they're probably pound for pound one of the strongest species.
Definitely, yeah. They got big bulldog sort of shaped heads.
Yeah, the head doesn't even look like it should be part of that snake. It's just square. It reminds me of a stone, that speckled gray. And then
the biggest thing with them is, I said, the biggest problem with breeding them is that they eat each other.
Yeah. You always are terrified to come down in the morning and see your male gone. Yeah. Which, for whatever, like, I don't know. I've honestly had them. They're the only species I've ever had to smash multiple cleaning bins. I've had it happen like 3 times where I'm trying to clean them, and I put them in a big bin, and we'll get a whiff of another snake, bite the side of the bin, throw coils around the bin, and just like squeeze until the bin breaks. And like, they're nutty, man.
Yeah. So that must have been pretty challenging putting those together.
I've never had an incident, knock on wood. I think with them, though, you can't just pair them whenever. Like, I think you got to so the way I initially did is I had some really old ones, because I'm sure you've obviously seen, like, it seems to me that it's difficult to find wild-caught youngsters. Like, everyone I see they come in like 10, 12 feet. And so I had some big old females. I raised up a male. That's another thing that people say, like, males are extremely difficult to come across. They seem to always be females. How big are the Apodora males? This seems to be the same. My males and females are the same size. My females are heavier bodied, but that might just be because I feed them more. But yeah, so I was pairing those old females I had, and I was getting what a lot of people get. Like, you'll see copulation. The female will swell up and lay inverted, but then nothing happens. However, my one younger female that I was raising up, she's a psycho. Like, just food drive. They don't strike at the cage or anything, but they try and eat you every time. And so I went in to change her water, and normally she'll come out and try and grab a hold of me, and her head was hanging out of the hide, and all of a sudden she just backed up into the hide, which was peculiar. So I lifted the hide, and she was in this tight ball. Like, she didn't look normal. So I pulled her out and I palpated, and I could feel 8 huge follicles. Like, I mean, these things were the size of almost the size of a pool ball.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I know now, based on her cycle this year, I caught her right at the end, right at my last window. So I took the male out from the big ones, put it with her. Immediately, he was all over her. And like I said, she had no interest in trying to eat me, which she normally does. And that was in January. And they bred like crazy. And then she ovulated, and she had a double post-ovulation shed. So she shed 2 times after she ovulated. So I didn't know when to expect eggs. But yeah, she ended up laying one, I think it was one slug, one what you refer to as a boob egg, right?
Yeah.
It's like a good looking egg, and then it's got like a nipple on the end that's like unfertilized.
Yeah.
So that baby died right at the end of incubation. It was a fully formed and colored baby, but I opened it up, dead in there.
Yeah.
So I hatched 5 males and 1 female. But
wow.
Dude, the eggs were like the size of my hand.
Wow.
Like, I never have seen an egg. The eggs when they came out were 164 grams.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were fucking big.
So what was the ratio on them? 5 males.
5 males and 1 female. What I expected.
Yeah.
To that Casper that he had bred them.
Yeah.
And from what I recall, he had the opposite. It was all females.
That's strange. That happens a lot with python. I used to do that with carpet pythons all the time. It'd be like always the one you don't want. I've had like 10.2 and stupid stuff like that.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't explain why now. Like out of the wild, why they're all female. Like not all, but you know what I mean. You get 5 in, 4 of them are going to be girls. Whether the males or the males stay somewhere else, God only knows. Yeah,
it could just be a collecting bias if they're collecting them. I'm trying to think what group we've got here. Yeah, I think we got less males than we got females for sure, which says a lot.
And you guys are trying to breed them out there?
Yeah, we bred them before here for sure, just previous to while I was here.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm taking it. Obviously, I'm sorted the monitors out foremost is what I'm doing, but then I'm working. Hopefully, I've just sort of started setting up the new rooms for the pythons and stuff, and I can't remember how many's in there, but yeah, it'd be like the first time this year that I've tried to do it, so I'll know a bit more after that.
Nice.
But yeah, we definitely had them a few clutches. Well, we've definitely bred them at least once a year here. In the past. Yeah,
they don't seem to be that different once you get them. Like this year. And I don't know, I would relate a lot of it because I've been changing my keeping over the last couple seasons. But right when I hatched my last clutch, another guy in Canada here offered me his adult pair.
Okay.
And this year, man, both females at the same time started looking good. I could feel follicles. I paired both pairs up. Every single day they were copulating, both pairs. And both... I've separated them over the last week or 2. Both pairs seem to be done now.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for pre-lay sheds now.
And you just doing food cycling. I think you said you do that for all of them.
Yeah. So I used to do your typical, hotspot and big gradient. When I bred them, it was not this last season, but the one before. I gave her the year off. But in that time when I bred them, I was in a transition, moving to just ambient heat and eliminating all my basking spots. And I noticed that female I have notes every day. I temp gunned her and the surface she was sitting on. She was always like 3 to 5 degrees warmer than wherever she was. But she always stayed around 85 degrees. And so now I've moved. Now I just heat the entire room to 85. And I was doing night drops, but now I've stopped doing that as well. And I'm just leaving the room 85.
Okay. Yeah. Just straight bake.
Yeah, this year, the white lips and ring pythons and all that stuff, they seem to kick in a little bit closer to spring.
Okay.
But so far this year, I've seen a lot of positive difference in moving, right? Because typically you give them options, right? So you give them a hot spot here and a cold spot here, and they're trying to stay within a certain range. Yeah. So I found if you just shrink this down and then shrink this and you just keep them in that range, for me, the results have been more than possible. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have that luxury, unfortunately. Like I said, they're all outside as well. They're in indoor, outdoor enclosures or the Apodora. So yeah, ours will be quite seasonal. But I think, like I said, I think the guys just feed them up more in sort of spring sort of time, and we get eggs.
Yeah,
interesting.
Well, I do the same too. Yeah, leading up to breeding, I just smash them.
Yeah,
and that seems to work.
Yeah,
and then I feed very sparingly throughout the rest of the year.
Yes, yes. What we pretty much do. I think the guys are probably feeding even more than they needed to, from what I've spoken to when I've been sorting this room out with them. I was like, oh, I wouldn't even bother feeding them. They're like, oh, because we breed so much food. Sometimes we have a surplus of it. Well, we just breed it. I was like, but they really. I know I spoke to them, and they're like, yeah, we really smash them in sort of in springtime, and that's obviously what they're doing to get them to go. But it'd be interesting to see. Like I said, I've never bred any of the Indonesian pythons, so now I've got the monitors sorted. I can sort of go to the snake rooms and be a bit more involved with those guys over there.
What is your average temperature range out there?
At the moment, it's probably getting like highs of 28, and then so I'm in Celsius, 28 Celsius, and then like I said, the coldest it's probably going to get if it's been raining for like 3 days. It'd be like 18 Celsius at night.
Yeah, so not that warm, like 60s to 80s Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that's been from sort of October until now, and that'll probably continue until the middle of March, and then it gets pretty hot. But it's really wet at the moment. Every day it's raining for sort of 4 or 5 hours. Those Apodora and stuff, they've got the option, well, everything in fact has got the option to go indoors, or at least get out of the rain. Even the Bolins and stuff, they're completely, they've got like a big outdoor enclosure, and they're sort of split in half so they can go back. Really crazy. A lot of them just sit out in the rain, which is quite interesting with those. But yeah, temperature wise, when you get into sort of summer, it'll be like 35. This is ambient temperatures, 35 to 38, and then you probably drop into maybe 23, 24 at night. But if you go and temp gun the cages, great. Like I was saying, those Simulus, I've temp gunned those Simulus, and they get to like 65 ambient, or like on top of it, on top of the cages, which is like super hot.
Yeah.
It's like really hot. Not ambient, it's sort of like the top of the cage. So sort of their basket like 65. I don't want people to cook them, keep them 65 ambient, but like a lot hotter than what you expect. And like I said, the ambient will probably then be 35. So if it's in direct sun, and I think that's what these pythons do as well. Even like on like days we've had today, like last 2 days been raining. I think if they get a patch of sunlight, they can still elevate their temperature quite a lot.
Yeah. Do you ever find, keeping outdoors, do you ever run into any like health issues like you sometimes run into in captivity, like respiratory infections or?
Yeah. Pretty bad. Yeah. The worst stuff is, like I was saying to you off air, is actually stuff that we keep indoors because it has a lack of ventilation. The outdoor stuff is usually pretty good. Respiratory is not really. They like snout rubbing and stuff for some of the like T-moles and stuff. They're pretty bad for like they can get a bit of snout rub.
Yeah.
And even the Bolins, I noticed some of the Bolins have had a few marks on the head where they push quite a bit. They're a bit of a pain for pushing, and that can cause a bit of mouth rot or something if they push too much. But then it clears out. But yeah, the worst we have is the stuff indoors, like in cages or tubs. And often what we do then is actually take it from indoors and put it outdoors to get that ventilation going, and then it sort of sorts itself out, which is pretty cool. Okay. I was like dead against, because it was so alien to me. I was dead against keeping stuff outdoor, not like dead against it, but it's like I didn't enjoy it at all. I felt like completely out of control, and now I'm pushing for more and more stuff to go outside. Like even the baby tree monitors now, it's like I've put some outside from my eggs. It's like, these seem to look a lot better and doing really good outdoors. So making like we've got loads of little mesh cages for those now. So it's like a lack of control, but I think overall it's really cool keeping stuff outdoors.
Have you noticed? I noticed a lot of people talk about with the tree monitors, like especially with like the greens and stuff. I've noticed people mention something about them, captive ones sometimes being more of a turquoisey color instead of. Yeah. Do you notice a difference between your indoor raised and your outdoor raised?
We've got an interesting. I literally just texted someone earlier about this. I got an interesting thing with some blue tree monitors. So they come out pretty greenish. I kept them indoors for 6 months, and they turned blue. And now I literally just looked at them today, and one of them has gone like completely green. You think it was a Prasinus? So it's like I have no idea what's going on with that.
Weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. So yeah, really strange. And a lot of the ones I found in Batanta have got this green back, which is just odd. I don't know why they're changing when you start keeping them outdoors. But yeah, I need to get Julian on. He's actually changed the color of his Prasinus and blue tree monitors. So he was hatching out like turquoise Prasinus, and he dropped the temperatures in his incubator, and they actually started getting greener. Taking a lot longer to hatch, but they literally, and he's got pictures. I really wish he'd come on, and then we could show the pictures. He's got literally pictures of turquoise ones, and then from the same pair, doing everything, just changing the incubation temperature, they just got greener and greener, which is just insane.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, because I would assume in the wild they're getting.
He'll be in the chat, but he's not brave enough to come on the actual on the podcast. He's got so much good information, especially like I said with that. But
yeah, I got to keep
bugging him.
No, that's cool.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one with the, because we've got stuff that breeds outside and then we incubate like Prasinus, and they'll come out pretty turquoise sort of color, and then they'll sort of turn to green. I haven't had many here. Or know of many here that have stayed that sort of turquoise color they do in captivity.
Yeah.
Huh. So I don't know. It's a weird one.
the Indo stuff indoors the same, like UVB strips, or you use calcium with D3, or like what?
You have to use calcium. We literally can't get any UV strips. Or we could, but it just cost an absolute fortune.
Yeah.
So it's like a mix now. I've got pretty much a cycle of not keeping the indoor stuff indoor forever or too long, and that's why I like to get the babies outside now. So but yeah, we supplement with D3, but yeah, I sort of got the adults on like a system where they don't stay inside for too long. They'll get cycled round, and then like I said, the babies usually aren't here long enough to make a difference, but if they're here longer, once they've been here like a month, I'm moving them outside now.
Yeah.
So it's cool. It's really cool keeping stuff outside, as long as you like lose the control. It's like a different way of keeping. It's been fun. The breeding side is actually, I think, it's going to be quite easy doing the 3 months, because you've got this real big cycle now. It's literally, you can follow it. You don't have to really don't look at the ones outside now. Just maintenance feed, and then as soon as you get to sort of April, they'll all get slammed with food, paired up, and then they should breed.
Huh. Yeah,
one day get a break from like the indoor stuff. Like, as you know, as we were saying earlier, that can be every 3 months, and we've got like 70 tree monitors indoors. So I'm like, even with those, I'm having to like split them up. If we had 70 going at once, it would just be too much. So I'm doing like 20, get those cycling, and then try and get the cycles, different stage. If we just don't want them cycling all at the same time. Yeah,
because you can only export so many, right?
Yeah, that's a lot of things that people don't realize. Hopefully, might get Brian on to talk about this ESA stuff for the Macrae, which is obviously a hot topic at the moment in the States. But a lot of people don't realize that we've got as well as a wild caught quota for anything that's allowed to be wild caught, like your scrub pythons and a few bits like that. For the monitors, there's like a quota. It's really small. Like we're allowed to export per year. I think it's like 65 Prasinus. It's like nothing.
Yeah, no.
And the blues is similar, and the other farms are on a similar quote, and that's worldwide. That's not just a one country. That's worldwide. So I think we've got maybe again in the 60s for the blue trees, and then there's another 4 or 5 farms that might have a quota, and their quota might be lower than ours. So it's almost like it's self-regulating itself. Do you know what I mean? Even if people aren't doing legitimately what they're doing, it is sort of regulated with that quota, which I don't mind. I think it's good because some people out there might just be getting them from the wild and not breeding them, and bringing them out. So I think a lot of people, and definitely these people that have proposed it, I don't think realize that system's in place. And some of it's crazy though. Like I don't know, like Bomai, for example, because they were never that popular. They've become popular. I think our quota for Bomai is like 12 Bomai. Yeah. So we're speaking to obviously our guys trying to, prove into our government here that we're actually captive breeding them. So they might increase our quota, and then hopefully they might keep the quota elsewhere a bit lower. So.
Well, it would be beneficial.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good thing. In if you're looking at it like as not being biased, I mean, I'd love to be able to export 200 tree monitors if someone would buy them, but looking at the whole and sort of what might not be happening is kosher as like what we are, then it's good to have that captive bred quota in place, sort of regulates itself.
Yeah. No, that's
hopefully we might be able to start selling to the other farms if we overproduce, which would be like even better. I don't know how the ins and outs. Brian actually mentioned it on the last trip. He was like, well, if you start breeding these monitors and you only got a quota for 60 or whatever, can you sell them to some of the other farms if you got? So that might be an outlet as well. Is
there a lot of other main farms?
I think there's probably 4 that are sort of operational in India. I think there's more. I think there's listed. There's probably 8 to 10, but some of those are just like company names. I know of like 4 of them that are like actual farms.
Yeah, well, that's decent. No, that's interesting.
Yeah. But, it's different, like I said. Let's go back to some of the pythons then, Cody. So you got the Idora. Have you had success with some of the Lysa species?
All of them. Well,
all of them.
Except all of them. The duns. This will be the first time with the duns.
Okay.
Yeah, I only had a female, and then somebody had sent me a male on loan this year. So that was actually kind of a last minute thing too. But they just went right at it. Like I quarantined him for a bit, and then I started smashing her with the food. She started developing follicles. I put them together. They immediately went at it, and within the same week or two, the olive pythons, popwin pythons, and duns all ovulated at the same time.
And the savus as well. You've bred those.
Yeah. I have 3 pairs. I bred them season before last. I got 2 clutches. Last year I didn't have success. And now I've been pairing all 3 females. And then I have an exanthic male, or everybody calls them silver.
Yeah.
I just like to call them xanthic, like it makes more sense to me. But
yeah.
So I only have the one, so I'll be making hets with that one. But yeah, hopefully I'll do them again this year.
Yeah, they're sweet. Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be, well, they are, for the amount of people that we get asked for them, super popular again. Hopefully people will actually stick with them rather than buying them or not buying them, because they're like amazing.
I feel like you could do stuff with them too, because I have like, my females are 3 different. I have one that's like jet black. I have one that kept most of her orange from a baby. Like I've raised her since like 2013. So she's old, and she's still half orange. And then I have a female that's silver. She's not a genetic silver. In color, she's silver though. So I feel like you could probably do something with those too and breed for high orange or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Just like how small they are compared to how big are your Dunai? Are they quite big or are they small?
I feel like mine are pretty large. Mine are the largest ones I've seen.
All the ones I've seen here have been fairly small. I've seen on your Instagram some of them. They look sort of mackerel size, but I don't know that much about them to sort of what sort of size. I thought they might have been a bit more like the savus.
Yeah, mine are like smaller versions of mackerel-ish. They're like, I don't know, 6 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. Like 6 feet. I thought mine were very large. But they're both old. My female, man, I got the female because some people surrendered it to a pet store because their roommate had it and he disappeared, I guess. And so they Googled and they figured it was a water python.
Yeah.
They gave it to a store, and then the store messaged me and was like, "Hey, you want another Macklot python?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And I got it, and I was like, "What? This isn't a Macklot python." Like,
yeah, the heads are so different on them. It seems from the ones I've seen here.
yeah, and the eyes remind me of like more like a Savu's eyes.
Yeah,
something. Yeah. I seen that you guys had them, and I was like, "Oh," but
yeah.
take it easy. I need more Timors, is what I need.
Yeah, we've got a good group of Timors. Yeah, I think we've how many we've got? 5. I think it's like 8.8. I think we've got.
Wow. Do you have any very large ones?
No,
man, and I had no idea they could get that large.
No.
At least 9 feet, and its head was, I don't know, like
big one. Yeah, I think the biggest. Well, we might have like an 8-footer, like a really. It looks old though. Do you know what I mean? I remember seeing. I remember putting it in this new facility we got, and I was like, "Oh man, that looks old." It's like a big old male, I think it is.
Oh,
He might be. Yeah, I think he might be getting up to 8 foot.
Yeah, that's interesting. That was another one. I got that big one, man. I had no idea they could get that big.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, most of them are around that sort of 6 foot range, 6 to 7.
Yeah.
So they're stunning, really nice. Apart from they just shit all over you. They're so nice to look at, such a nice python. But I'd rather something bites me than shits all over me.
You touch them and you can just see and get ready to spray piss. Like, you know.
Yeah. I've never known anything like it. Even like the Macklots and stuff, and nothing like those.
None of mine. The white lips may be a musk on you, but yeah. It's
not like shit though.
Yeah, the Timors are gross, but they almost remind me of like a golden Boland's python.
Yes. Yeah, they're very cool. Not thought about keeping any Bolans?
Oh, I desperately want Boland's.
Yeah.
I just every year when I have the opportunity to get them, it's like spend all this money on a pair of Boland's or pair up all these other projects.
Yeah.
And then here we are. It's been like 2 decades, and I still have been saying the same thing. Well, next year I'll do the Boland's.
Yeah.
But I desperately want Boland's. That's like the pinnacle animal for me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the worst person to talk to Boland's about. I think they're really cool, but they're not on a pedestal for me at all. I'm lucky to work with like quite a few. We got like 5.5 of those. It's just a black scrub python to me.
Yeah,
that's all there. But I've never been that sort of infatuated with them. But I love how much people are into them for sure. But yeah,
man, I got to probe one for a buddy. And I couldn't even see what I was doing because I was crying. I was like,
"Oh, really? Wow,
oh, man, I love them." Yeah,
it's like me with Glebo Palmer, the Australian dwarf monitor. Found one on the last trip, and I was nearly in tears with that. I was like, "Oh my god, that's like my Boland's python." Unfortunately,
is anybody breeding them outside of Australia?
No, they never fell through the net, unfortunately. But yeah, just seeing one in the wild, I was like, "Oh my god, these are so cool." So I guess that's what people think about the Boland's. I walk past the Boland's, I'm like, it literally, to me, and it sounds bad, it's literally a black scrub python.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it though. It is.
They're very cool. Yeah, the prices on those has gone crazy. That sort of price people a lot out of the projects for sure.
That's why I don't have. Man, the first time I had access to them, they were like $1,700.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, next year, and then they were $3,200. And that's got next year, and then they were 5,000. I'm like, holy fuck!
It's insane. Yeah, I don't know where that's. I think some guys in the US are having pretty good success with them now. We usually get a clutch a year here. So, like I said, our Boland's quote is really small as well. But yeah, I think there's going to be more and more of those. Probably the price will come down. Clastolepus as well. You guys can't keep scrub pythons, can you?
Not in Alberta, no. Otherwise, I'd have a ton of them.
Yeah, that sucks. You do well with them as well, I'm sure. Like Clastolepus is that's like my Boland's python. That's my favorite python, for sure. But they're really hard to get hold of now.
Yeah, do you guys work with them there?
Yeah, we got like a really small group because again, nobody wanted them. It's like so the breeding group went down again. The quota for them is absolutely tiny. So yeah, I'm just building that back up, just really selfishly because they're my favorite python basically.
Yeah.
So more of them, and we're getting the ones from not that they're Clastolepus, the the Key Island ones. Have you seen those?
I have, not much, but
Yeah, they kind of look like a class lepus, but they're not. They're definitely probably their own species. They're really
they're
cool.
darker, right?
Yeah, like more orangey. Weird. Yeah, I've posted some on the Instagram page. Really cool. They're pretty smart. So we're building up quite a good group of those at the moment to get those going. You can't get any of the scrubs at all. They're all banned.
Nah, we could for like a year or two until they redid things, but I knew that they were gonna fix it again, so I didn't get any.
Yeah, well, that sucks.
Yeah,
they're cool.
In Ontario you can have them, but
yeah,
it's just this province you can't, which is like blows my mind that you can have popwin pythons, but
yeah. Don't kick up. You're pretty lucky, and you're allowed Boland's pythons there, are you? You need to get them before we.
Yeah.
What happens if they list it when you have this stuff? They just have to get rid of them, or can they do that? So if say you had like class lepus or something before that come in, do you have to get rid of them, or what happens?
They typically with that stuff they grandfather it, like.
But you wouldn't be able to sell it. You wouldn't be able to sell the offspring.
Yeah, you basically just have to keep it as a pet. Like I know there was this Jane Goodall Act thing that was going to happen, and Canada wide you wouldn't be able to have like anything.
Oh wow!
Any of all the olives, popwins, any of the larger boas, like Bolins, all of that stuff was about to ban Canada wide, and then it was like you would have been able to apply for a grandfather permit, but you weren't allowed to sell it. You weren't allowed to use it for entertainment purposes, and you weren't allowed to breed it or anything. You would have just had to, keep it in your basement until it died.
Yeah, that sucks.
So, but that luckily didn't go through. So.
Oh, that's good. Do you keep any of the emerald tree boas? I know we got a picture of one. Do you keep them or not? Do you say you hate them?
They're one of my favorites, and I despise them at the same time.
Oh, okay.
The biggest nightmare snake for me.
Okay.
You get them, and then it's hard to get good ones, man. Like you get them, and they're either pukers, or you have a wonderful pair, and they're breeding, and then they break out with a respiratory infection. Like I've not had any species give me as much trouble as emeralds.
Right.
I have 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. I'm hoping I've been pairing 3 females this season.
Nice.
So
yeah, we had a pair here, but we lost the male. I think we're going to get some from Guyana or something, wherever you're allowed to export them out to. But I said to the owner, they're like, all I've heard about them is they regurge. He's like, well, we had them here. I was like, I think you just got lucky. I was like, literally everyone says they have this regurge. I was like, so adamant that they're going to be fine. So we've set a sort of I think it's about 10 cages up waiting for those to come in when we can get some. But I was like, I'm going to be like you, I'm sure. I love them to look at. And that one we've got now causes us no problems at all. I was like, I bet when you get a few of them, they're a fucking nightmare.
Yeah, when they're good, they're great, man. You see all these people all the time. They're like, I got my one wild caught and I've had it no problem. Yeah. It's like, well, yeah, get 10 of them and see what happens. Like,
yeah.
I bet you guys will probably do really well with them out there.
Yeah, it's that regurge thing, because I don't think you can do anything about it from what I've read and what I've heard on different podcasts. Once they've got that, it's like a death sentence.
Put it down.
I spoke to, like I said, the owner. I can't remember how he got in. I was like, did they regurge? Like, never had a problem with regurge. And like I said, I worked with the ones we had here, and they weren't regurging. And he's had them for like 2 or 3 years. I don't know what happened to those other ones. Like I said, he might have just got the lucky pair out of the ones he bought in or something.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue is. Like, I've never had them and then have them start regurging.
Right.
But I've seen an import come in and I'm like, all right, sweet, I'll grab 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then immediately first meal, one pukes. And then the next one gets it 1 meal down, and then the second meal pukes. And that group is just like toast.
Done.
Or respiratory infections.
Yeah. So have you produced them yet or not?
No. I tried last year. I was just trying to use a male. I have a hybrid Amazon Basin cross.
Okay.
He's a big fat bugger. He's the one in the picture, the thumbnail.
Yeah.
That's a male.
Wow.
I got him just as this. He was huge, man, and he doesn't want to do anything ever. And so this year I'm trying him again to a pure northern, and then I have another northern male that I've been breeding to 2 other northerns. One of the females recently came down with an RI. I'm like, fuck.
Oh shit.
So I don't know.
They sound like they're going to be fun.
Green tree pythons never give me an issue once.
Oh really?
Tree boas or whatever they're, yeah. But the emeralds.
So let's wrap up with that. What green trees are you working with? Pythons.
I have a Rue, Biak, and a handful of sarongs, and a couple crosses. Yeah.
Yeah. So
what's the plan? Just hatched out one lone a Rue sarong cross that I made.
What are you crossing them for?
I had to. I like the pure ones, but I was like, shit. Like, I only have one Aru, and he's pure yellow. Like, for an Aru, that's odd. And then I have a solid blue sarong female. So I couldn't help it. I was like, I have to cross.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know if I would actually. I don't know I cross the hell out of carpet pythons and just end up with muddy messes half the time.
Yeah,
not going to do it. And I've become pretty much a purist coming out of all that morph stuff. So I'm like super pure with everything now. But like some of the ones that are being posted, like these crosses, you can't take away that they're just. It doesn't even look like a green tree python anymore. It's like its own thing now.
Yeah, you don't know. I bought like a designer one. So this cross that I just made, if it ends up being a male, I'll keep those and breed those. And I'll do the locality stuff. But
yeah, I think that's the way. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I'd like to get more green trees.
Yeah. It's another one it's a bit annoying where it's gone. From what I've seen in the States and stuff, it's gone so much that designer side that people aren't working with localities, and there's always a risk with that. Like they could say tomorrow that we're not allowed to export any more green tree pythons. They could be like, no, you've exported enough. We're going to stop it for X amount of years or stop it forever, and then they'd totally be lost in the hobby side of things to have any pure localities. So I wish people just did like the designer stuff, and then like everyone should have to do, if they cross anything, they should have to keep a pure locality pair together. Yeah, it's like if you do that horrible shit over there, you have to keep just one locality. You get to choose what locality it is, but you have to keep one locality and keep it pure.
That'd be reasonable, yeah. You guys out there, do you start your babies on rodents, or do you start them on geckos or something? Or
always try on rodents first. And then we move on to like a chicken. It's like a mashed up chicken broth sort of thing with Pinky. So all the stuff we feed here is live, which has been quite weird to get used to. In the UK, it's completely banned to feed anything live. So it's pretty hard work for me because I'm not used to it. To like feed these cute babies that I'm picking up from our rodent. You sort of do get over it in the end. But yeah, if we didn't feed live, then the stuff would just stink. Like you'd put a defrost in there, and within half an hour, because it's so hot and humid, it would just go rotten, and then you get loads of answers. But besides the point, no, they all get started on and defrost, and then we try and do that chicken thing, and then we'll do chicken parts, and then if like worst case scenario is like a local frog that we've got here, and then like a house gecko or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But we've got someone that literally just feeds the green tree pythons. It's like his job. So he's got like an art to it.
That's a terrible job. Yeah.
It's the worst.
That'll work. Yeah.
Like I said, I'm getting more involved with the snakes sort of this year. But yeah, I said to Bun, the owner, I was like, I don't want anything to do with that, with the feeding the green tree pythons. Like that is someone else's job for sure. I'll breed them. I'll pick out the pairs and stuff, whatever you want me to do. I'll make sure the guys, they breed a lot anyway, but make sure they're doing all right. But I'm not feeding them.
Yeah. My go-to is just hot Pinky Mouse covered in chick fuzz, and seems to work across the board.
Yeah, we get a few problems with the green trees. We got another facility where we breed a lot of them where it's a bit warmer. But yeah, again, moving those outside seems to be the trick we're finding at this facility here for sure.
Oh yeah, moving them outside.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said to you before, we get a lot of problems when we're keeping them indoors. So we set up. This has sort of been refurbished. We got another snake facility where we keep a lot of the stuff. It's a bit warmer at elevation here, and then so we're trying to move the facility here to have more snakes breeding here, basically, because I'm here, and then we're keeping a lot of stuff in tubs and getting a lot of problems with like RI and mouth rots. But now we're moving it outside, and it's just solving all the problems. So I think that's the way forward. Where typically in Indonesia you can just keep them, in these crates. But for whatever reason up here, it's been a bit of a hassle.
Yeah. Something, man.
Yeah, they're a bit of like snakes in general seem to be a bit more of a pain to me for sure than the monitors. The monitors are either alive or they're dead, where the snakes get all these weird little respiratories and mouth rot and stuff like that.
Yeah, drag along.
Yeah, but yeah, it seems to be putting outside. Well, we're lucky. Put it outside, and it seems to solve it so far.
That's cool.
Sweet. Anything else you wanted to touch on? Reptile shop. You've got an actual shop that you need to actually sell some of this stuff. Do you want to put a plug out for that?
Yeah, that thing. So I have a shop here in Red Deer, Alberta. Literally just called the Reptile Shop, and then it's on Facebook, which is the Reptile Shop Red Deer, which is the Facebook is more just the store, so it's more pet store type stuff, and then on Instagram is all the breeding projects, which is the _reptile_shop. That's where I'm most active. I have a website, but it's just reptileshop.ca, but it's not overly functional at the moment.
Yeah, some really cool stuff on there that we didn't get to, but yeah, check that out for sure on the old Instagram page. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, you see that male green tree monitor there. He's almost kind of that turquoisey color like we're talking about. With the glow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen some even more blue than that. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Like I said, trying to get Julian on. He can explain everything, give everyone the secrets of how to make them green again.
Yeah, that'd be a cool one.
Yeah, some amazing stuff on here. Bismarck pythons, I haven't seen those for years.
Yeah, you guys don't work with them down there?
No, they're not Indonesian, so there's no quota for them.
I've heard that they're hard to get it.
Yeah, I don't know where those original ones even would have come from, because they definitely wouldn't be from Indonesian, because they're from Bismarck, which is the Papuan side.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So that we guys to get that stuff too.
Say again. We can't get them.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's no export out of Papua New Guinea anyway. So it's like Australia is completely shut off. So I don't know how those ended up in the hobby. I don't know what the story is. Maybe Hank Molt or someone like that in the US might have got them, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That would have been going back to like 70s, I would have thought.
Yeah, they seem like an old school thing.
Yeah, very cool. The babies are just incredible. How orange, those orange bands.
Yeah, they're wicked. They're quick little suckers too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you open it, man.
You bred those as well, by the looks of things.
Yeah. I've got them. I've got them paired right now, but I don't expect them to kick in for another month or so.
Okay. And have you found? I heard those are quite cannibalistic, or is that?
I've heard that as well. I have been very lucky. The only ones I have issues with are white lips. It's just because they're idiots. Like, they're so defensive that it's like you pull the male out and he's pissed, striking, trying to bite everything. And then you open the female's cage and she's pissed, trying to bite everything. So to get him in with her, right? And then, or you'll be working in the room and one will see you and they'll strike, and then the other one will see that one strike and they'll wrap each other up. They never eat each other or anything. I just pour vinegar on them and they let go of each other, and it's
right.
But they're the only pythons I've had issues with so far in regards to that.
Nice. Sweet. Okay. Thank you very much, CodeyJoe. It's been amazing. I'm sure we can do a part 2 at some point when I've got a bit more Python knowledge.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Like I said, when I start working with more of the stuff we've got here, that'd be cool to pick your brain on some of the stuff, bounce some ideas off. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Awesome show, mate. I'll see you afterwards anyway, so I'll just remove you for now. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'll be back in a couple of weeks. Hope you enjoyed that. But for now, that's it.